Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome in to episode number 12 of our TCW save in TEW 2020. This is Total Wrestling, the go-home edition before the war to settle the score. And as usual, a lot to get to on this episode. So let's jump right in as we start things off with a couple of kind of video packages here and sort of just highlights of everything that sort of led to this big main event, as we know, at the war to settle the score. The big 5-on-5 match, which, as we learned last week, officially going to be Cage Wars, which, again, is pretty much a War Games match, but that's what we're going with for this big 5-on-5 match. So we get kind of the highlights leading to this big match, everything, with Syndicate attacking Aaron Andrews, which kind of set this whole thing off in motion. And so it's kind of just sort of the pep speeches, if you will, where we see kind of Aaron Andrews talking to his team kind of in the locker room area. We see Wolf talking to the Syndicate in a locker room area. And so we just kind of see these two leaders for their teams essentially motivating their teams. And this is all done within this video package, kind of with everything. Think of like your 80s style, package where you have the highlights kind of blended in with sort of the motivational speeches here from Aaron Andrews and Wolf Hawkins. So really just these two kind of pumping things up. We're sort of just setting the battle lines and everything ready, as we said, for this big match. Our main event at the war to settle the score. So good segment, and yes, this was kind of a way for me to get Wolf and Aaron Andrews in a solo segment together, and of course it does well as a 93. So we get this video package to start things off. As for what actually happens in the ring to start things off, well, here he comes. Your friend and mine, Freddie Huggins. As it is Freddie and Matt Hocking making their way out for this tag team match. As we know, it's going to be Freddie and Hocking here teaming up to take on Edd Stone, and Edd Stone's mystery partner, who, Freddie was trying to get him to reveal it last week, but Edd Stone was not in the building, so we never found out who it was going to be. This gets to 65. And so Freddie, comes out, Hocking comes out. They want to know the partner, so Kyle Rhodes is in the ring. Freddie, as usual, calling in Kyle Rhodes. Kyle Rhodes, right this second, I want to know who this partner is for Edd Stone. We need to know right now. And so Edd Stone comes out, and, he's got a little bit of a smile on his face, the party animal himself. And he does reveal his partner for this tag team match, and it is going to be Human Arsenal. John Anderson here. Human Arsenal, first time we've seen him in this save. And as you'll see, there's going to be more from him here. But he reveals that Human Arsenal is his tag team partner. We are pushing this as sort of another person sort of coming back from injury here, because some of these guys that are coming back from injury are a little bit older, and we'll tie that into something here, as you'll see moving forward. But for now, it is Human Arsenal making his debut, at least in our series, but he does return from injury here to team with Edd Stone to take on the team of Freddie Huggins and Matt Hocking. So let's jump into the tag team match 63 for this segment, and your winners are Edd Stone and Human Arsenal, as it is them getting the win in 10:22 here. Arsenal pins Matt Hocking with the ammo dump. So that is his move, and he officially dumps the ammo and gets the win here on Matt Hocking. So that's kind of what we're pushing. 75, good match. I'll take that. If you kind of see the in-ring performances here, pretty good stuff across the board here from all these guys. And, as usual, the chemistry note between Freddie and Laura Catherine. So that continues to work in terms of, bonuses and those kind of things. But it is the team of Edd Stone and Human Arsenal getting a win over Freddie Huggins and Matt Hocking. Once again, Hocking sort of taking the, taking one for the team here, as Freddie does not find himself in a position to lose the match, but Matt Hocking does. As we know, this is all leading to a match at War to Settle the Score. It's already been settled, pun intended, where Freddie will take on Edd Stone one-on-one at the War to Settle the Score. But for now, Edd Stone and the returning Human Arsenal, John Anderson, getting the win here in tag team action. So Freddie not happy, as you would expect, heading into that big singles match between the two former partners at the pay-per-view. All right, now we get Kyle Rhodes back in the ring, and you're going to see him quite a bit in terms of our promo segments here on this show. It's a go-home show, right? We've got to really build things up. So 67 here for this one, as it is Kyle Rhodes with none other than Dazzling Dave Diamond. Triple D here is in the ring, and Kyle Rhodes is sort of asking him about the rematch he's going to have against Greg Gage for the television championship at the War to Settle the Score. And, Dazzling Dave Diamond just says, hey, this is my opportunity to regain gold. Former international champion is Dazzling Dave. And sort of just saying, hey, once I get the gold, that can buy me a lot of drinks, because as we're pushing Dazzling Dave, he's a barroom brawler. So that's kind of what we're pushing. Dave is the Texan here. I don't know if you want to compare him to like a Bradshaw type, a JBL type. I don't know. But probably more so Bradshaw than the JBL iteration. But maybe Bradshaw from his days in the Acolytes or something in the APA or whatever. So, but again, just kind of pushing Dazzling Dave, saying this is his opportunity, and also pointing out that Greg Gage has to beat him in order to retain the championship, because he can't get counted out. He can't get disqualified. He has to win. That's the stipulation we've set in place after Greg Gage intentionally got counted out in the previous match between these two. So Dazzling Dave pumping up the importance of this rematch. And so we finish up the interview, but as we do that, we kind of see Joshua Taylor in the background because he's getting ready for his next match. So Taylor's essentially just having to wait as Dazzling Dave sort of finishes up his interview here, talking about the opportunity to regain gold. But no interactions, just kind of see Dazzling Dave, kind of give him a motion towards Joshua Taylor, who's just kind of standing there waiting for his match. But we leave it at that for now. Perhaps that'll play into something in the future. We'll find out. You guys know I don't do anything without its purpose. And so Joshua Taylor kind of standing in the background here as Dazzling Dave finishes up the interview to get ready for the TV championship match on Sunday at the pay-per-view. So are our pay-per-views on Sunday? I don't even know. Whatever the day of the pay-per-view is, I don't even remember. 67 for this one. I'm just used to saying that. All right, speaking of Joshua Taylor, he does get the win here in singles action against Dean Daniels. The winning streak continues. We've kind of pushed that. We're not pushing him as the next Goldberg, but he does have a streak going since the loss at Psycho Circus. 61 for the match, and we see why. No chemistry between Joshua Taylor and Dean Daniels, so not that you guys ever expected me to have a long-term feud between these two, but it is worth noting we will not have a long-term feud between these two. But Joshua Taylor keeps the winning streak going, and again, perhaps will play into something in the future. We'll find out what that previous segment was all about. All right, now we get to another match here, and it is Flying Jimmy Fox getting a little momentum heading into the pay-per-view as he gets a win over Maverick, 807. The Flying Fox does it on that. 60 for the match. Maverick actually better in the ring than Flying Jimmy here, but Flying Jimmy, part of our entertaining duo with Benny Benson. But these two are not here to entertain right now because we know that Flying Jimmy Fox is set for pay-per-view singles action here as he is going to take on Ernest Youngman, and that leads us into Kyle Rhodes making his way back in because Flying Jimmy Fox has something to say. So Fox is here, Benson's here. Remember, Benson's just he's still feeling the effects from the hit from Ernest Youngman, which we saw that happen where Youngman pulled him over the rail, hit the hit on him, and that's kind of what we're pushing is Flying Jimmy's the one getting the match here rather than Benny Benson because he's not fully ready to have that match just yet. Perhaps after taking a devastating move like the hit from Ernest Youngman, basically in the crowd. So Flying Jimmy's he's not here to entertain. Like I said, he's pissed off, and he said that he's going to teach Ernest Youngman a lesson. You don't just walk into TCW and start bullying people around. That's not how this works, and they don't care. He doesn't care that people call Ernest Youngman the assassin. He's heard all about him, but he's basically coming in thinking he already can do whatever he wants and all this other stuff. So just kind of your fiery babyface promo here from Flying Jimmy Fox, saying that he's going to teach Ernest Youngman a lesson, about respect and those kind of things, and coming in, to this promotion and basically, trying to push people around. That's not how it works around here. So Flying Jimmy Fox out for revenge for his friend Benny Benson in that singles match at the War to settle the score. 58 for this one. All right. More match action here as this gets a 59. Not great, but that is going to probably fall on the the shoulders of our friend. It's Rich and Famous, Jackpot, Jordan, and Jake Idol, who made their debut and lost for the Tag Team Championships that opportunity. But they lose here to the duo of TBone Bright and One Man Army. So TBone and One Man Army teaming up here as TBone, it's kind of been a little tag team action with Chance Fortune, of course, too, recently. So they get the win. They're going to be part of our main event, as we know, on the Aaron Andrews team at the War to settle the score. So they get the win. One Man Army pins Jackpot Jordan. Guided missile for this. We got a lot of war type finishes for these guys. You got the ammo dump earlier. You got the guided missile here. Perfect for the war to settle the score. So yeah, TBone 71. It's good stuff here from TBone. Still getting the bonuses from Rich and Famous, which we'll continue to get that. But yeah, they get the win. And I know Rich and Famous have lost their first couple matches. We got to get these guys some popularity. So they got to get in there with some people and get the rub a little bit from the popularity standpoint. So 59 for this one. Some momentum for these two moving into the main event match at the pay-per-view. But afterwards, it is worth noting here, and remember the theme that we have and the stipulation that is in place. So T-Bone and One Man Army exit the ring. Meanwhile, Doc Hammond starts to make his entrance. And remember, the rule is in place that the TCW booking committee, the matchmakers, have said that if anyone from either side of that big 5-man, 5-on-5 tag team match touches each other, they will forfeit. Whoever initiates the contact will forfeit that spot. So it could be a 5-on-4 match and so forth. So we get T-Bone and One Man Army heading out. Doc Hammond's heading in. You know where this is headed. These two start to get a little, feisty, and they start to try to get into each other's face. You got Doc Hammond kind of, taunting One Man Army a little bit, One Man Army reciprocating, and that is when T-Bone sort of gets there and steps in the middle of these two guys, making sure that he does not have any contact with Doc Hammond whatsoever. But he does step in front of One Man Army to just sort of say, hold on a second. We can't do this. It's not worth it. You can't lose your spot in this match. We'll get him on. We'll get him at the pay-per-view. We'll get him in the cage. That's what T-Bone's telling One Man Army here. So still building the tension here as we head towards this match, knowing that no one can touch each other. It's kind of building up here, and so we get that again on display with these two. So 71 here for this segment. And Doc Hammond in action. He gets the win over Jalen Martins. And so as you can see, we've kind of spread out the matches here where you've got some Aaron Andrews team members, you've got some Syndicate team members. And by the way, the main event, I forgot to tell you guys this. There's a sidebar. The main event, I said it to someone in the comments. We are giving our man, Elliot Thomas, a main event match on Total Wrestling. Because you remember last week, Elliot Thomas was the one, multiple people backstage were like, Elliot Thomas has all the tools. You got to push this guy. We looked at the stats and we're like, well, they're not that great. But we're giving him a reward because we're giving him a main event match tonight on Total Wrestling as he's going to go one-on-one with, he's going one-on-one with Wolf Hawkins. So we'll see if he can pull off the upset. But that's just worth noting there, that we are, again, spreading these matches out, knowing that these guys are kind of coming out not needing all their partners around them because they all sort of feel confident that no one's going to take that test of, relinquishing their spot. And so Doc Hammond gets the win here, coming out by himself to beat Jalen Martins, 51 for the match. And again, Martin's developmental talent, giving him another shot here, build a little popularity up. But this is nothing more than a squash. Texas Cloverleaf does it for Doc Hammond. So Hammond gets the win in this one. All right, we continue on because next up is Sammy Bach, kind of in this, this order of people who are in the main event match. And it's Sammy Bach getting the win over Troy Tornado here, 10-19. Bach on your back. We've talked about that finish quite a bit. 75 for this one, as we said, for the match. But he gets the win over Troy Tornado here. Troy Tornado's interesting. I know some people have asked me, what could he maybe get a nice little run before he retires? Well, we'll see. We got a lot of guys that we can get runs out of before they retire because there's a lot of guys close to retirement on this roster, as we know. So, we'll see what happens there. But Sammy Bach gets the win. And once again, this is just kind of giving him some confidence leading into the big match at the pay-per-view. So 73 for the in-ring, 63 for Troy Tornado, which is not bad. So good match here between these two. Sammy with the win. All right, now we get to our in-ring promo. Kyle Rhodes is here, and he welcomes Jay Chord, who last week we teased it. Jay Chord was here, and he was going to kind of address his future. Because he hasn't wrestled, as we know, for several weeks. He said he will not wrestle until he gets quality competition. And so Jay Chord is here to address it. And again, the 78 for this segment here. And that is when Kyle Rhodes said, well, you're the one who requested this time. What do you have to say? And that is when Jay Chord just says, I've heard it all. I've heard everyone telling me that I shouldn't be doing this, that I should be doing that. And telling me all these people that they think I should wrestle because they're quality competition. And he said, don't worry, just like all of you, I've heard the rumor about new competition for me. And he said, I'm not buying it because the rumor that I've heard, I know that person wouldn't dare come here and try to step in the ring with me. And so, who is he talking about? What is this rumor he's heard? Because apparently everyone else has heard it, but maybe we haven't heard that, right? We don't know who it is, but Jay Chord is sort of daring this person, it sounds like, saying that he doesn't think that they'll actually do it. So he continues on and says, so for that reason, I have no competition left here. I've beaten people. There's no one who wants to step up to me right now. Don't worry, as I've said, I've got my eyes on the people that should step up and wrestle me, but apparently they've got other things to do. And we all know who I'm talking about, Aaron Andrews, Sammy Bach. If they're not going to step up and wrestle me right now, then it's not getting me anywhere close to my destiny, and that's what this is all about. And as he goes to continue, here comes someone to interrupt him, and it is none other than Human Arsenal, John Anderson. And so Human Arsenal, who we saw earlier teaming up with, the mystery partner of Edd Stone, here comes Human Arsenal. And he makes his way to the ring, 70 for this one. He didn't perform well. I knew he wouldn't, but that's okay. And he comes in and he just immediately grabs the microphone away. And, Kyle Rhodes is there kind of holding the microphone, and Big John Anderson here, Human Arsenal, just grabs it away from him. And he says, I'm sorry, Kyle, but I'm not going to sit around and listen to this anymore because I'm sitting there injured for weeks, and I'm just waiting and waiting to get this opportunity. I've sat back and listened to everything this young man right here has had to say. And he makes it very clear he's saying young man because, Jay Chord is a younger guy compared to John Anderson here, Human Arsenal. And so he just says, I'm tired of the disrespect. You talk all you want about this destiny and how you're going to get this and how you deserve this destiny. And he's just, Arsenal just says, destiny is earned. He said, I'm the oldest guy out here. Everybody knows it. I don't have many matches left. I'm the oldest guy back there in the locker room. Now, trivia note, I'm not sure if he's exactly the oldest guy, but he's 44, okay? So Human Arsenal here, 44 years old. I'm pretty sure he's the oldest guy on the active roster that we're using. Let's just go with that. So that's what we're pushing here, is he's basically saying, I'm the guy that has been here, I've put in the years, I've put in the time, I've earned my destiny in this business, basically. You haven't earned yours yet. And that is when he says, so if you want to earn it, how about you actually do it by not being a coward and just waiting around for someone to hand you a championship match? Why don't you earn your way to a championship match? And so he said, that's why right now I'm going to challenge you, young man, Jay Chord. I'm going to challenge you for the pay-per-view, the war to settle the score. You and me in the ring. You want quality competition? I've been doing this as long as anybody. And, he's basically just kind of saying it. And if I have to shut you up to make you realize, the wrongs of your way here, then that's exactly what I'll do. So Human Arsenal laying down the challenge here for Jay Chord. And Jay Chord just kind of brushing it off. You can see him just kind of smirking a little bit. And then, Jay Chord just walks off. And then he gets to the entrance. And we see him sort of laugh and nod his head a little bit as he walks out. So that's as much as we got from Jay Chord. Is he accepting the match? Are we going to have the match? Perhaps we'll find out at the pay-per-view. But John Anderson, Human Arsenal here, making his return and making it clear as the veteran of TCW, perhaps one of the locker room leaders. He's not happy with the young man, Jay Chord, 70 for this. Well, how old is Jay Chord? He's like 30s, right? Or is he 30? I don't know. But it works for John Anderson because he's older. So there you go. So there's the setup. And as I said, there's more than meets the eye here with this one. So we'll see what that is, perhaps. 70 for this segment. All right, now we get to our main events. And if you were someone who was rooting for Elliot Thomas to be the winner over Wolf Hawkins and perhaps steal away the shot at Total Mayhem, it's not going to happen because Wolf Hawkins gets the win in this one. 11:35, Full Moon Rising. 79, I mean, look, this is probably worse than I thought it would be. I thought this would be a better match. I thought I'd make it 80s, but I mean, Elliot Thomas not that over. So Wolf with a 93 for his in-ring performance, so that's good for him. But nonetheless, this is, again, it's just kind of putting Wolf in another match. And, I mean, Wolf can wrestle, right? And we're having to keep Aaron Andrews out because he's not medically cleared just yet to wrestle. So we'll see what happens, right? That's been the theme. So Wolf gets the win over Elliot Thomas. So it is worth noting, as I said earlier, that everyone's kind of, on the honor system here, knowing that neither team is going to sort of put themselves in jeopardy, right? So everyone's kind of coming out alone here, which is unusual for these guys. So Wolf Hawkins is out by himself. And so after the match, Wolf has just beaten Elliot Thomas. He's sort of standing over him. 80 for the segment here. Here comes Chance Fortune, who we've not seen tonight. We know, though, he's going to be part of the 5-on-5 match. He's going to be in there on Aaron Andrews' team with TBone, one-man army, and Sammy Bach, and Aaron Andrews, of course. So, Chance Fortune comes out. He enters the ring, and that is when he gets in Wolf's face. And Wolf's just begging him to swing. Wolf's just kind of putting his face right there, saying, just hit me. Come on, hit me. Because he knows if Chance Fortune hits him, he's out of there, right? Like, they're forfeiting the spot. So, Wolf just keeps begging him. He just keeps begging Chance Fortune here to swing on him. But Chance Fortune just, he's staring there. You see him just kind of gritting his teeth. But he doesn't do it. And then we see Chance Fortune look around Wolf's shoulder, and Wolf all of a sudden is like, what are you doing looking around me? 80 for the segment. And then, all hell breaks loose. Standing behind Wolf Hawkins is none other than Daryl Devine, who we saw a couple weeks ago now. Devine was the one. He was handcuffed. That led to kind of the chase away, which we found out was Aaron Andrews in this car, although we don't know who was driving the car. Aaron Andrews just said he wouldn't forget the voice. That's all we know right now. But Daryl Devine had been beaten up by the syndicate, is what we knew. So, all of a sudden, Wolf turns around. Chance Fortune's there. And Daryl Devine just pops Wolf right in the face. Because why? Because Daryl Devine is not in the 5-on-5 match. We said he would be injured. He was injured. He would not be, available to wrestle in the match. And so he just hauls off on Wolf because he's not relinquishing the spot because he's not on either team. So the babyfaces find a little loophole here, and they take advantage. And it is Daryl Devine just going off on Wolf. So we've got the ultimate underdog, kind of what we push Daryl Devine as. That's his gimmick. He's hauling off on Wolf. So Chance Fortune's just standing back because he knows he can't get involved. So he's hauling off on Wolf. So these two are trading shots. Well, all of a sudden, here comes the syndicate. And I know I didn't pull all the syndicate. We can only have 8 people, right? So I just put Doc Hammond here. But the entire syndicate comes out. So all of a sudden, they come out, and they're trying to get to Daryl Devine because, again, they can take out Daryl Devine because he's not in the match. So they go to kind of move in on Daryl Devine here, all happening very quickly. But coming out from like the opposite side of the crowd are the other members of Aaron Andrews' team. It's Aaron Andrews. It's Sammy Bach, one-man army, TBone. And what do? They form sort of the shield here around Daryl Devine and knowing that the syndicate cannot swing on them or else they will forfeit their spot. So we've got these teams once again, just like we saw at the end of last week. We've got kind of the 5-on-5 setup here where all 5 guys on each team are standing face-to-face, but they can't touch each other. And it's just building the tension. It's building the suspense. And Daryl Devine, who has just hauled off on Wolf Hawkins, is just kind of standing behind here, sort of shielded by his friends, his partner, Chance Fortune, and the other 4 people on the main event babyface side for the war to settle the score. So 77 for this one. We know some of the guys performed poorly, especially Devine, but it happens. But this was the setup. Again, we kind of set it up that way to have this opportunity and perhaps more to come out of this segment. You might want to remember this segment in terms of what could happen in the future. So 77 for this one. That's how we finish up the go-home edition of Total Wrestling before the war to settle the score. Get an 83, so a great show here in terms of the overall rating. Some good stuff, really good stuff down the stretch. A lot of green here. That's what we want. So there you go. A lot of stuff heading into the big main event match, and that was really the theme here. But we also added a couple other interesting things, like I said, that may be a little under the radar right now, but they'll start to make more sense here as we move forward. So there you go. 83 for this one. Let's see what we get to before we wrap up. All right, so Total Wrestling. We got an excellent of course, we struck gold as usual. We've been doing that a little bit, so we like that. So Supreme TV, also an excellent show. Let's see what they did. We did more fans, I can tell you that. All right, so they did an 82, so we beat them from a show rating standpoint. Great main event here, 91. They'll take that. So Dr. Rudo, by the way, with an interview. So big fan of Dr. Rudo. I don't think we can sign him, but EILL. Big fan of Dr. Rudo. He's got some good skills here. So he's a rising star at 30. So, all right, let's see what we got from a male standpoint. Drug test fees, we've got those usual things here. 3.41 TV rating. We'll look at that in a second. But I want you guys to note, this was happened, I guess, so a couple of days before the show. But Roderick Remus, who we've been talking about, has changed his body type. He's gone from toned to muscular. So he heard me talking about him. He heard me saying, I think I can do something with Roderick Remus. And he said, I gotta bulk up. So he's on the plan here. He's on something because he's got to bulk up, and he has. So good for him. Even more reason to do something with Roderick Remus. But let's look at the ratings from the show. So we get Total Wrestling 83. We beat them in that range. We beat them here, moving closer to Premier League football. We're almost there. Like, we're not that far now. So from a viewership standpoint. Rating standpoint, still a little bit behind, but we're still beating the SWF. So that's worth noting on that. But there you go. That was Total Wrestling, the Go Home Edition before the war to settle the score. As always, be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check out everything else on the channel, WWE, AEW, Exploring the Seaverse. More new series are on the way in the future, as I've been teasing for a while now, but we're just kind of waiting when to release them. And yes, another Seaverse series probably on the way too. I've talked about that previously, maybe doing something with one of the other promotions we talked about, kind of when we did the poll to start things off. But for now, we are rocking and rolling in TCW. And so, on the next episode of our TCW Save, it will be our War to Settle the Score preview.